Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's edition of The Greatest Record Ever Made. I'm Carl Caffarelli, the co-host of This Is Rock and Roll Radio with Dana and Carl, heard every Sunday night from 9 to midnight Eastern Time, right here in Syracuse on Spark, WSPJ 103.3 and 93.7 FM, and on the web at sparksyracuse.org. I'm also a writer, and I've been working on a book called The Greatest Record Ever Made, Volume 1, dedicated to the notion that an infinite number of songs can each be the greatest record ever made as long as they take turns, which is what records do. This week's greatest record ever made spotlight falls upon the perhaps unlikely subject of the Grateful Dead. Maybe not the first band you'd expect me to speak glowingly about, but nonetheless, Uncle John's band, even at the point when I really despised the Dead, they were perhaps my most hated band in the world in the late 70s and early 80s. Even then, I kind of like this song, and I've developed a little bit of appreciation for some of the band's other work over the years. And Uncle John's band has also gathered additional emotional meaning to me, an additional connection to its lyrics over recent years. This piece was originally written and published in October of 2018. And so the references made within are tied to that specific point in time. Let's find out what I'm talking about. The Grateful Dead, Uncle John's Band, written by Jerry Garcia and Robert Hunter, produced by Bob Matthews, Betty Cantor, and Grateful Dead. From the album Working Man's Dead, Warner Brothers Records, 1970. It's the same story the crow told me. It's the only one he knows. Like the summer sun you come, and like the wind you go. Ain't no time to hate. Barely time to wait. Oh, but what I want to know is, where does the time go? We try to hold on. We try to cling to things we cherish. We can't hold on. We shouldn't. We can't. When I was a teenage college student, matriculating my way through the late 70s, I actively loathed the Grateful Dead. To this power pop and punk rocker, the Dead's music, image, and interminably jamming vibe were anathema. Give me the Ramones. Give me the Sex Pistols, the Buzzcocks, the Flash Cubes. Give me British Invasion. Give me the Monkees. Give me something short and sharp, fast and catchy, and play it loud. Give me some truth. The Grateful Dead? No. Thanks anyway, but no. Nonetheless, somewhere in this time frame, I heard the Grateful Dead's Uncle John's Band, maybe not for the first time. It was, after all, released way back in 1970. The lead-off track on the Working Man's Dead album, and some radio station somewhere must have played it within my sovereign airspace. But maybe I heard it for the first time that mattered. I still found time to hate the Grateful Dead. I made an exception for Uncle John's Band. Why? There was something inviting about the track. I don't know, something comforting, something pretty, something intrinsically appealing on a deeper level, something that mattered. By the early 80s, I quipped that Uncle John's Band was a great track and that I just wished it was by the Hollies instead of the Dead. I think I said the same thing about Van Halen's Dance the Night Away and Lorelei by Styx. In each case, ripping off something I'd once read in Phonograph Record magazine about Cherry Baby by Stars. Know what to steal and when. Collectively, these were the beginnings of my eventual conviction that even a band you despise might be capable of putting out one track you adore. I grew up. I'm sure I have that in writing somewhere. I graduated from college in 1980, got married in 1984, and became father to a newborn baby girl in 1995. Now that baby girl is herself a college graduate, herself deep into the process of growing up. And today she's moving out of our house. She'll be close by, not even 10 minutes away. And she'll still carpool to work with her mother during the week. I'm sure I'll see her often. It's a good thing, a great thing, a necessary thing. Our pride in our daughter far outshines the fragile nature of our emotions. It is a moment to celebrate. My eyes sting just the same. Where does the time go? Megan and her boyfriend Austin are moving into the house where I lived from 1960 until 1980, birth to graduation. My mother's house. Mom doesn't live there anymore. Dad passed away in 2012. And my sister, who lives in England, bought the house to keep it in the family as the inevitable marched its odious way in our direction. The inevitable happened faster than anticipated. as my mother fell at home in December of 2017. It soon became apparent that she could no longer live on her own, and she relocated permanently to a nursing home facility. Ain't no time to hate. Barely time to wait. I see Mom every day after work. I check in. I chat. I see if there's anything she needs, anything I can do for her. I get her audiobooks, even though her hearing is diminished. I make sure her TV is working, even though she's now legally blind. I get her to the few doctor's appointments that aren't handled on the premises. I check her mail. I handle her accounts. I make sure she's adequately stocked with whatever is appropriate to keep her as comfortable and content as we can. And then I go home for supper. I am Sisyphus. And like the summer sun, I come. And like the wind, I go. I started to develop a little bit of appreciation for the Grateful Dead in the 80s. Perhaps to my horror, I discovered that I loved their 1987 MTV hit Touch of Grey, and I felt compelled to purchase both their then-current album In the Dark and the greatest hit set, Skeletons in the Closet. The 67 psychedelic rocker, The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion, became another fave rave, much later joined by another debut album track called Cream Puff War, plus Can't Come Down, an earlier track dating from when the Dead were billed as the Warlocks. Cool stuff, all of this. Listen to this sometime with open ears. If you're a Garage fan, you might be surprised. Uncle John's Band remained the kingpin. Such a mystically comforting track, even as we feel time slipping away. The sands within its hourglass dropping at a rate too rapid to comprehend. Come hear Uncle John's Band, playing to the tide. Come with me or go alone. He's come to take his children home. Magnificent sadness, magnificent glory. In spite of the obvious fact that it really doesn't sound anything like the Kinks, it is somehow a peer to the peerless music of my favorite Kinks album, The Village Green Preservation Society. At 18 or 19, I never envisioned myself speaking glowingly of the Grateful Dead alongside the Kinks. At 18 or 19, I never envisioned the melancholy ache of the question, where does the time go? Tomorrow I'm going to help my daughter install some smoke detectors in her new abode. I'll see my mom tonight like every night. I'll eat supper with my wife in a house that will seem emptier than it did just a moment ago. I will hold her close. We first met 40 years ago this weekend. My roommate at the time was into the Grateful Dead, and he vowed to make a Deadhead out of me. It never happened, except in the ways that it did. Well, the first days are the hardest days. Life has never looked like Easy Street. There has always been danger at our door. Another singing group tried to tell us that all we'd need was love. We also need to be strong. We need to hold on. Our walls are built of cannonballs. And we've got some things to talk about here beside the rising tide. We're grateful. We ain't dead yet. As I mentioned, that piece was originally written in October of 2018 when Megan moved out of the house into my former home, my childhood home in North Syracuse. And now, just this past Tuesday, last week, Austin got in touch with me and said he'd like to take me out to lunch because he had some things he wanted to talk about. And as I guessed, he wanted to get my blessing before he asked Megan to marry him. Austin proposed to Megan this past weekend, and she accepted. They are a wonderful couple. They are very good together. They are good for each other. It's a good thing, a great thing, a necessary thing. But I find myself looking at pictures and saying, you grew up so fast. And all I want to know is, where does the time go? Thank you for joining me for this week's edition of The Greatest Record Ever Made. Below, you will see options to tip and subscribe and support here, and everywhere. I will also post a link to the original posted version, the original published version of this piece as it appeared on my blog in 2018. Thank you for joining me this week for The Greatest Record Ever Made.